All right, guys, give me your first thoughts. Derek Chauvin trial. Verdict is in. He is guilty on all charges.
You know, when you think about it and you look at the justice system, you say, well, after the crime was committed, the next day after the video came out, he was fired. Then shortly after, he was indicted. Then 10 hours of deliberation, he was convicted. I don't understand what justice they're looking for. You know, what they really want is they want to continue to push a narrative for people to hate the police and this mob rule, meaning that if we, get out here and burn enough stuff, you're going to have the verdict that we want. This is crazy that we live in a country like this. And I'll say this about Chauvin's case, and I think his defense made a huge mistake by not having him testify. They needed to have him be humanized.
George Floyd came to Minneapolis to better his life, but ultimately, his life will have bettered our city. The jury joined in a shared conviction that has animated Minneapolis for the last 11 months. They refused to look away and affirmed he should still be here today. Brandon, Minneapolis to better his life. When you want to better your life, how much fentanyl do you take?
Simon says, I don't know how much fentanyl he's taking to write a tweet like this. If you want to better your life, I think you would start by not using drugs and trying to buy stuff with fake money and resisting arrest from police officers. I don't know what world we live in.
Right.
Why are these people so lame?
They're just lying.
They're just making up stuff to stoke hatred and vitriol in our country. That guy was a thug. That guy was a criminal. That guy was using drugs. He's not an example of anybody. He don't represent me as a black man.
And I hate that. I have been screaming this for years, that this is a fraudulent organization that seems to use the faces of black people to raise millions and millions of dollars, and nobody knows where it goes. But this week, Breonna Taylor's mother spoke out and actually said what Candace and Brandon have been screaming for weeks. And here's what she said. I actually want to read it verbatim because it's so powerful and it's basically being ignored. She said, I have never personally dealt with Black Lives Matter, Louisville, and personally have found them to be frauds, I think she meant. Attica Scott is another fraud, okay? She then says, I could walk in a room full of people who claim to be here for Breonna's family who don't even know who I am. I've watched y'all raise money on behalf of Breonna's family who has never done a damn thing for us, nor have we needed it or asked. So talk about fraud. I've been talking about fraud, ma'am. I've been talking about fraud. I mean, Brandon, hello, vindication for you and I?
Yeah, I mean, this is, a blind man can see this, that they are fraudulent. You can look in the black community. They have been doing this quote unquote work for a very long time, but nothing has changed. They don't even prescribe any change. You see the young girl the other day, Jasleen, I think her name was Jaslyn. She got murdered, 7-year-old girl got murdered in a car. They don't even put her on the Instagram page.
It's not about Black lives.
They do none of those things. They won't even mention Tyshawn Lee, which was another young 9-year-old that was murdered. I mean, he was murdered directly by gang members. They won't even speak about it. One day, I hope one day that people will step up and actually help where the help is needed. Go to the inner city and go and march and stand in front of somebody's house that's selling dope in the community. Stand in front of the person's house who murdered that little 7-year-old. I want y'all to protest there. Stop protesting about these police officers that are justifiably shooting people.
Right.
I mean, it makes my blood boil. Now, I will keep talking, but this is not my show.
No, I love it. I love it. Earlier today, I actually had a friend reach out to me. Her daughter attends a boarding school in Connecticut. And after the trial verdict was read, this is what they sent out to all of the kids. I actually could not even believe. And I'm not going to obviously read this in entire letter, but it says, for many, the state of Minnesota versus Derek Michael Chauvin has been a stark, heart-wrenching reminder of the suffering one human being can inflict on another. It has also been a painful reminder that racism still permeates and threatens the everyday lives of marginalized groups in this country. Brandon, if your child was at this school and this letter went out, knowing your perspective, what would you do?
Oh, I'm going to act a fool. I'm going to go up there and act a fool. They're going to have to call the police on me and everything.
Which is your opportunity to become a victim, by the way.
Right.
The police.
I'm going to get some money out of this. But this is unacceptable. You don't brainwash kids like this. Let me tell you this. The people who are teaching their kids to love this country and to be accountable for your actions, they are succeeding. You are succeeding. I'm succeeding. When you look at this stuff, if you teach your kids to be a victim their entire life, they will be the bums walking around with no job, being a permanent activist. They're not going to own businesses. They're not going to make it up the corporate ladder. Nobody's going to hire these people. I will never hire somebody that's sitting around making excuses. When I hire people, I do interviews and I talk to them. What value do you bring to the table? If you say something stupid like systemic racism or something, I will never hire you. This is a complete lie. And the reason why they say it's systemic is because they never plan to fix it. They want it to be the boogeyman that they never fix. If you say the court system is racist, pick the judge and you show me that racist judge and have him fired. If you say our country is inherently racist, Joe Biden, who probably can't remember the old Joe Biden because he's brain dead, Joe Biden, how about you step down, Mr. White Supremacy? How about you step down if white people are the problem and give a black person your spot? They will never do that because they're a steady line and they just want to push a narrative that will never be successful.
He just might do that because Kamala Harris is always just behind him.
I know.
Every time he's speaking, right? So those could be famous last words.